Hello and welcome back to another video on the Revere End channel. Today, myself and Billy are going to be previewing the upcoming fixture against Millwall. Billy, how are you doing today?
Yeah, very well.
Well, I guess to kind of keep it a little bit shorter, this video, we're just going to be looking at a couple of different areas. But we'll start off and dive straight into it and look at Millwall's kind of current form. Now, on screen, you'll see a graphic to kind of show you, and it's all provided by SofaScore. Not sponsored, but just thought I'd mention that anyway. But Bill, looking at their kind of recent form, obviously we're going from bottom to top in terms of most recent. Their last game was a fairly surprising loss to Huddersfield, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 3-0 sort of scoreline is probably a little bit generous in Huddersfield's favour. If you look at the goals, I think they score in the 89th and the 93rd minute, which includes a mistake by the ex-Ipswich keeper as well. So I'm not sure sort of how representative that is of the actual 90 minutes. I think it's also important not to look over the 2-0 win over Preston as well. You know, how much we struggled against Preston, and I don't think North End are in the in such a good vein of form at the moment, but they're always a difficult side to play, and I think they can be quite problematic. So the fact that they've sort of beaten a side that plays fairly similar to them, which we'll sort of talk about in a moment, but the fact that they've beaten them 2-0 was a positive result. I think the most interesting for me, this won't be on there, but I was looking and they're fourth in the away form table, winning 3 of their 4 games. So they're obviously a very impressive side away from home. And I think they could cause Norwich some problems in certain areas of the pitch.
No, absolutely. I think the kind of one that stood out for me on there, which is going to probably go under the radar a little bit, is their 2-0 win against Luton, because especially watching Luton the last couple of weeks on Sky, they and even the problems they gave us in the preseason game, they've kind of been the surprise package this year, and they kind of seem to dealt with them pretty well. But I guess, like I say, not to kind of gloss over their form too much there. If we look at the way they're kind of setting up typically in these games, so now this is from their previous game against um, uh, Pre- uh, not Preston, sorry, who they're racing game against
Huddersfield.
Huddersfield. There we go. I just said it. It's in a 3-4-2-1 system. As you can see from the SofaScore ratings, that kind of highlights the Biakowski mistake, hence the 5.6 rating, which you do love to see as a Norwich fan. But talk to me a little bit, Billy, about how you kind of, because in a weird way, they kind of line up in a slightly similar way to Bristol City, in the way they have that 3 at the back with I know they had 5 across the midfield, but they still have that kind of 3 at the back system in place with wing backs or midfielders. So talk to me about how you kind of expect us to face them.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting with a 3 at the back system, isn't it? Because how is that depicted? How is that portrayed in the game? Are we going to see more of a 5-4-1, or are they going to get their wing backs forward and really attack? I mean, it doesn't look like that will be the case. I think Millwall are one of these sides in this league that has a sort of been stereotyped in the way that they play, and sometimes that can be quite hard to sort of shake that off. And I think it will be, you know, it's a very interesting sort of lineup. I think 3-4-3 is the system they've used 5 out of the last 7 games. So it's obviously, it looks like something they're going to stick with. I think previous games have used sort of a 4-4-1-1 as well. So whether they stick with this 3-4-3, I'm not too sure. I think the interesting thing for me, looking at sort of the statistics, they've restricted the opposition to just 23 shots on target, which is the second lowest in the league, making just 16 saves, which was also second lowest in the league. So they obviously restrict the amount of shots that the opposition take. So Norwich sort of finding those opportunities and finding those goal scoring opportunities might be quite problematic. And they're obviously very good defensively. You know, in terms of going forward, how do they operate in? Well, they've attempted 198 crosses, which is the 3rd highest in the league. Interestingly, just we are second with, I think, around 225. So whether that suggests that they are entirely a direct side, because I don't think you'd associate a Norwich side with being direct just because they play a lot of crosses. So I think that's probably going to be their main prong of attack. And there's a player in particular that I've noted down for the key players, which we'll talk about, who I think will cause Norwich some problems for sure.
Okay. No, I definitely agree. And I think what's going to be interesting is that, and we kind of spoke on our podcast, if you haven't watched that, that was released yesterday as well, about how potentially, if they do, for example, line up with a 4-3-2-1, how Norwich can even adapt, you know, so that I think that's going to be the interesting thing, is to see maybe how Norwich react to facing a team like this. But if we kind of now look at the previous meetings between the clubs, now, if you look down the list, it's fairly, apart from one result really, which sticks out, which was that horrendous 4-0 loss back in Daniel Farke's first season. we've had an incredible record against them, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've won three of the last games. So obviously, the one in particular that will spring to memory of Norwich fans is that memorable victory at Carrow Road with the late Timu Puki goal. I think that's always the game that sort of sticks out on my mind. And but yeah, you're right. Norwich have been fairly impressive against Millwall in recent years, and I think they'll be looking to sort of hopefully get a similar type of result in terms of the 3 points. Ideally, a little bit less stressful this time, because
Yeah.
I think we could do with a nice easy game as a Norwich fan at the moment.
Well, I think there's definitely some kind of cracking results and fixtures down here. I mean, I'm seeing some 6-1s, 4 goals scored in 3 of the games, so I'm kind of anticipating, now I've said this, it'll be a 0-0 draw, but let's hope
For
for some
sure.
goals, right?
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, I know you alluded to it earlier, but looking at the kind of key players, more so rating wise for them this season. A couple of familiar names at the top, which have given us some issues in the past. I mean, Jake Cooper is one of those guys who always seems to bag a goal against us from a corner. And then you've got Jed Wallace as well, who played a part in that 4-3 game. Another one of those strikers that kind of, or wingers, if you like, that kind of always is causing us some kind of issue whenever we seem to match up with them. But talk to me a little bit, Bill, about kind of those 5 players. Are there any that stick out to you?
Yeah, I think you're right. Jake Cooper and Jed Wallace. Jake Cooper is a player that will be very familiar for sort of EFL fans. He plays in the middle of that back three, and he's very aerially dominant, sort of 6'5". He's averaging sort of 6.2 aerial duels per game with a success rate of 86%. So I don't think Norwich are going to be trying to play the long ball game against Jake Cooper. He's very sort of productive in those aerial battles. Interestingly, he's fairly decent on the ground as well, making 5-point clearances, 5.4 clearances, 2.7 interceptions, and 1.6 tackles, helping Millwall to 4 clean sheets so far this season, which is the joint third highest in the league. So they're very solid defensively. And I talked about how in terms of going forward, they might try and hurt Norwich. I think any attacking threat is always going to come from Jed Wallace out wide. He's played on the right or the left, just behind that centre forward. So it'll be interesting to see sort of where he lines up in the little pockets of space he finds himself in. He's averaging just under 2 dribbles per game, and he started all 9 of Millwall's matches so far this season, completing 90 minutes in all 9 of them, which I think sort of showcases just how much of a valuable asset he is to
Yeah.
Millwall's side. 5 goal contributions with 4 goals and 1 assist to his name, and averaging 2.3 key passes per game and 73 crosses, which he's attempted so far, which interestingly is the second highest in the league behind Quintilla. I think Norwich fans will be hoping that they see Quintilla certainly make the matchday squad against Millwall, because we've already highlighted just how impressive he's been when he's played. I think we should also mention Sean Hutchinson in defence. Like I said, it's an area which Millwall are typically very strong in, despite conceding 3 goals in their previous game. And he's averaging 3.1 interceptions, which is the second highest in the league, and 3.4 clearances and 1.4 tackles. So I think it's fairly obvious how Millwall are going to hurt us and where they are strong. They're very good defensively. That's where their main threat is. And when going forward, I think Jed Wallace will be key to them.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a case of typically to kind of how the last performances have gone against Millwall, crosses into the box, especially this year for both sides, and also set pieces with Jake Cooper in there is always a worry. I think one year he even bagged a brace against us, if I'm 7 from memory. So I guess to kind of look ahead, we obviously know the side of Norwich, but looking at a score prediction, if I could get a score prediction from you, Billy, how do you feel like we're going to fare against Millwall?
I think it's going to be a tight encounter. I think we'll go 1-0 up, and then I think we'll get a second on the break late on in the second half. So I'm going to go for Norwich 2, Millwall 0.
I'm going to go for something which is a little bit more. I'm going to go for a bit more goals, put it that way. And I'm going to go for a bit more of entertaining 4-2 win for Norwich.
Nice.
Well, I hope you guys like this video. It's a little bit different just because of the fact that I guess we're more focusing on the opposition as opposed to Norwich, which we typically do. But it's going to be hopefully a much more kind of bite-sized, consumable video. So we hope that you like. And if you do, feel free to leave a comment and a like on the video as well. But until next time, it's been me and Billy. We'll see you later.